present two policies why the farmers use the and they determine 5 It is not true that there are 5 farmers.
So all of the judges actually voted to defend the Urawa bill from Kobe College. Congratulations. Hello friends! 全国高校英語ディベート連盟審査委員長の矢野です。Hi, I'm Yoshiro Yano, the Chief Judge of the 8th All Japan High School English Debate Tournament. この DVD には2013年12月に長野県で開催された第8回全国高校生英語ディベート大会の決勝戦と準決勝のうちの1試合計2試合を取り上げてみました。In this DVD, you will find the final round and one of the semi-final rounds with my commentaries in between. The first half shows the final round and my commentary is in Japanese. The latter half is the semi-final and the comments are mostly in English and I will give some brief general tips for judging a debate round.If you want to listen to just the debates, that's fine. You can choose that from the root menu of this DVD. ディベートを学ぶ皆さんのために、前半の決勝戦の途中には試合の詳細な解説を、DVD の後半ではジャッジをするという視点で準決勝を見ていき、若干のヒントを途中で挟んでおきます。ご参考になれば幸いです。なお、解説抜きの再生をすることも可能です。メニューからご選択ください。ではまず、決勝戦を見ていただきましょう。2013年第8回全国高校生英語ディベート大会では、北海道から沖縄まで全国64校が会場である松本大学に集い熱戦を繰り広げました。今年は出場校を決めるために30を超える都道府県で県大会が行われました。全国でこうした大会に参加した参加コースを計算するとざっと300近くになると言えます。その頂点に立つべく決勝戦を争ったのは肯定側長野県伊那北高等学校と否定側神戸女学院高等学部でした。早速最初のスピーチである立論 Constructive Speech からご覧いただきましょう。
We will now begin this round of affirmative constructive speech for 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay.Thank you, Chairperson, judges, everyone. My name is Nanaliki. Advantage 1. The decline in Japanese rice agriculture will stop. Presentation. Rice agriculture has been declining because the tariff makes most farmers conservative. According to Professor Kobashi of Kagoshima International University, quote, the high tariff discourages full-time farmers from working hard and improving their agricultural methods, unquote. Moreover, even if they want to do large-scale farming, the policy of reducing rice acreage, also known as the HEnDA policy, is an obstacle to farmers' progress. Therefore, farmland remains small-scale and productivity remains low. In addition, this situation makes the profit small and the agriculture less attractive to young people. So there are no successors.Therefore, rice agriculture has no future. Effect. After the plan, cheaper foreign rice will appear in the Japanese market. Then the Japanese government will not be able to adjust rice in the domestic market, and the HEnDA policy will be unnecessary and it will disappear. So Japanese farmers will face a challenge because their business rivals will appear and the obstacle will disappear. Part-time farmers will may quit farming to focus on their other job. That's okay, but many full-time farmers cannot resign from farming because they don't have the skills to work another job, and all their life depends on rice farming. So they will try to decrease the cost of production somehow. For example, 1. Making farmlands bigger. According to Yamashita Kazuto, who is an agricultural scholar, quote, part-time farmers will quit and they will rent their farmland, so it is possible for full-time farmers to get the farmland and make it bigger. And two, decreasing the personal expense by introducing machines and raising productivity of each body field. According to National Diet Library, quote, the removal of tariff will make it possible to decrease the personal expense, unquote. After the decrease of the cost, Japanese rice will be sold much more, not only in Japan but also around the world. In these ways, the benefit to farmers will increase. Therefore, full-time farmers will improve Japanese rice farming and stop its decline. Importance. The Japanese rice agriculture is important for farmers and people's lives because rice is the last food which they can feed themselves. So Japan must leave the rice agriculture forever. But in fact, the present agriculture situation is critical. According to NHK Online, quote, Japanese rice farming will disappear after 8 years certainly, unquote. So the government should make an improvement whose first step is to change conservative farmers. Advantage 2. Consumers will get benefit. Present situation. At present, two policies waste people's money. That policies are, 1. Putting tariff on foreign rice. According to Economic News, quote, now people have to buy expensive foreign rice because of high tariff, unquote. 2. Carrying out the GEnDA policy. According to Canon Institute, quote, the government has used 600 billion yen of tax for the GEnDA policy. Moreover, people has burden of 400 billion yen because of buying expensive Japanese rice, unquote. So people are forced to pay money in vain. Effect. After the plan, the rice tariff will be removed and GEnDA policy will disappear as we said in Advantage 1. And the government will not need to waste 600 billion yen with meaningless policies. Therefore, the price of rice in domestic market will be cheap as we also said in Advantage 1. The average price of Japanese rice will be less than 133 yen per kilogram. According to Canon Institute, quote, only after abolishing GEnDA policy, Japanese rice price will be 133 yen per kilogram, unquote. If government reduces the waste, consumers will also be able to reduce the waste. So consumers will be able to buy cheaper rice by government using people's tax efficiently. Importance. If Japan keeps the tariff, it will continue to waste money and cause economic damage. The tax is the people's money, so Japan must use its money efficiently. And in the future, the consumption tax will rise steadily, so people's lives will surely be difficult. Rice is a Japanese staple food, and people eat it every day. If the benefit from cheap rice doesn't occupy a big part of home expense, it will add up. So, and even if it's only 10%, it is sure that Japanese government cannot adjust the domestic rice price, so again the policy will disappear and Japanese farmer will take away their share. No one knows who will be deprived of their share. So it's sure all farmers will under fear of impending crisis, so they will face a challenge. It is that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, speaker. We will now have a 1-minute preparation time.
立論では今年度の論題である米の関税を撤廃すべきであるというプランを採用するとどのような利点、アドバンテージが得られるのかの証明が行われました。実は伊那北高校は今回の開催県である地元長野の学校ですが、開催県というのは先生方が全国大会の準備で大忙しなわけです。参加する生徒さんは生徒さん自身で全てを準備しなければいけなかったわけです。米の関税の問題はとても難しい論題ですが、そうした逆境の中、伊那北高校は自分たちでよく調べ、立派なスピーチをしていました。立論ではアドバンテージを2つまで述べてよいことになっていますが、まず肯定側はアドバンテージ1、1として日本の農業の将来が復活する。アドバンテージ2としては米関税の廃止によって補助金やら高い米を買う費用やら金銭の無駄遣いが減るというものでした。特に前者のアドバンテージはユニークで、普通米関税というと農家を守るという視点で議論されがちですが、関税廃止によってむしろ農家が復活するという論点を出していたわけです。さて、こうしたアドバンテージを証明するには3つの小論点が必要になります。第一の小論点は現状分析 present situation、 現状を変えないとどんな問題が起きるのか。第2はプランの効果 effect、 プランを取るとどのようにどう改善されると予測されるのか。第3は重要性 significance、 その問題を改善することが どのように重要なのか、これらの3つを証明することになります。アドバンテージは2つとも視点としては良かったのですが、以下の2つの点で改善の余地もあります。第一の改善の余地は、エフェクトを最後までしっかりと証明することです。例えば、アドバンテージ1では、競争などにより農家が大規模化する、生産性を上げる、そこまでは証拠がちゃんと出ていました。が、それにより国内でも国外でも日本の米が売れるようになり、それで農家が立ち直るという主張には一つも証拠がありませんでした。エフェクトというのは実は何段階もの途中で原因と結果がつながっていくということを証明しないといけません。それが最後のインポータンス、重要性にまでつながる証明がつながっていかないとアドバンテージがあるとまでは言えないのです。第2の改善の余地はインポータンス、重要性についてです。これについては実はあまり説明がされていませんでした。肯定側は日本の農業を守ることは重要だと言っていますが、その理由はなぜでしょう。食料はすでにほとんど外国から輸入しているとか、さまざまな産業は長い歴史の中でなくなっているという反応を容易に思いつきます。なぜ自国の農業が立ち直るのが望ましいのか、決して説明なしに済ましてはいけません。同じことはアドバンテージ2についても言えます。実はアドバンテージ2では減反政策の補助金がカットされる無駄を省いたり、消費者によって米の値段が下がることで無駄がなくなったりという2種類の無駄が論じられています。ルール的にはこれは2つの AD を論じているともいうことができますので、そもそもどちらか一方に絞るべきでした。そして片方に絞った方がより具体的になぜこの無駄が深刻な問題であるかを細かく論調できたはずです。では対する否定側からの質疑応答を見てみましょう。
Preparation time has ended. We will now have questions from the negative side for 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Miku Yamada, and I would like to ask some questions. So first of all, in 81, you said that, first of all, so your links for both 81 and 82 is that Gentan will be abolished after the plan, right?
I said advantage 2. It is a mistake. So I said in the advantage 1 that it is Gentan policy will be unnecessary. Yes.
Then what is the, okay, thank you. So in 81, the link is Gentan, right?
So the obstacle.
Okay. I'm sorry, please continue.
Sorry. So not is the main obstacle is the Gentan policy. Main obstacle is the high tariff. This makes the high tariff makes most farmers conservative. So it is the.
Okay, so it's the farmers' feeling. So right now they're conservative, but after the plan they'll try put more effort.
Yes.
Okay, so where do you prove that farmers will so even if farmers put effort into it, where do you prove that farmers will actually be able to be successful in their effort?
How?
Okay,
after the plan, they will try to decrease the cost of production.
Yes, so where do you prove that they will actually be able to do that?
Yes, able.
Where do you prove that they will actually be able to do that?
Okay, so after the plan, so I have the process of the.
Oh,
yes.
Is it large-scale farming and also machines?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And for the machines, where do you prove that after the plan, farmers will be able to? Why don't farmers use machines right now? Because they're conservative?
So after the plan, it will be more. We also said the personal expense will decrease. So
why will personal expense decrease?
So because after the plan, they will share their farmlands, and now the 3%.
And what does that have to do with the cost of machines?
Yes, They will share machine.
Oh,
yes.
so there are share machines. Okay, thank you. And so in 81,
Yes.
who is suffering from the declining in agriculture right now?
The Japan.
Japan?
Yes.
How is it suffering?
So
Is it that, so are you saying that if,
because rice is the last food, we can keep stable supply ourselves. But if present situation continues, the last food will disappear and people's lives will be affected.
okay, thank you. And next I would like to ask about 82. So what is the change on people's lives after the plan? How exactly will consumers' lives change?
So after the plan, now the people's money will be used in vain. So it is the burden of people. So after the plan,
Oh, so you're saying that because it's in vain, it's a problem?
yes. In
Okay,
vain,
thank you. And so what exactly is your link for 82? Could you explain again? It's not Gentan?
Sorry. Thank
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Question time has ended.
質疑応答は相手の述べたことを確認するコンファメーションと相手の述べたことの証拠や論理を吟味するエグザミネーションとに分かれますが、ここで否定側の質問は特に肯定側のアドバンテージ1のエフェクトの証明に疑問文の形で上手に質問ができていました。例えば日本の農家がプラン後に機械化するという主張に対し、なぜ今機械化していないのか、そしてどこまで農家が成功すると言えるのかなどと問いただしていましたが、これはアドバンテージに本当にエフェクトがあるのかという疑問をジャッジの中にかき立てることに成功しています。そしてこれを質問しておいたことで後のアタックが大変生きていることになりました。では次に否定側の立論を見てみましょう。
We will now hear the negative constructive speech for 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Kali Matsuki, and I'll begin. DA1, damage to farmers, Penetration, 1. People want to buy foreign rice because it is cheap. Sangin Yano 2008 quote. And the apparent trend is that consumers are looking for cheaper rice because the decline in working wages as a result of non-regular employment, unquote. 2. However, because of high tariffs, which is 778%, there is no competition with Japanese farmers. 3. There are many full-time farmers, and they depend on rice farming for most of their income. According to Norinjuki Kenkyushu 2012, there are about 250,000 full-time rice farmers, unquote. MFF 2006, quote, over 80% of the income of full-time rice farmer is farming income, unquote. Effect, 1. Cheap foreign Japanese rice will be imported. According to MFF 2013, January, the average POS exchange price for Japanese rice was 430 yen for 1 kilogram. On the other hand, Chinese Japanese rice is 68 yen per kilogram. 2. Consumers will buy cheaper rice. Nikkei 2013, quote, last year, cheap Chinese rice was popular. Consumers are not shying away from imported rice like they did in the 1990s, unquote. 3. As Japanese stop buying rice made by Japanese farmers will suffer huge damage. Japan Business Press 2011, quote, according to the survey of MFF, after the rice tariff will be removed, 90% of Japanese rice will be replaced by foreign rice, unquote. Importance. Farmers will be in poverty. Tokyo Daiko Professor Daigo, 2013, quote, if Japan joins CPP and tariffs on rice are removed, in almost all farms, farming income will be in the red, unquote. After this ban, the situation will be worse as we will remove tariffs on rice imports from all countries. DA2, dangerous to health. Present situation. 1. Foreign rice is very dangerous. I'll use 3 examples. A. Arsenic. CNN Health 2012. Arsenic in American rice will increase the arsenic in human bodies by 44% if we eat rice or rice products once each day. B. Lead. According to Mail Online UK 2013, rice imported from some countries contains high levels of lead that could pose a health risk to children. Lead was detected highest from China and Taiwan, and significantly high level was detected from the United States, India, Thailand, and others. Unquote. C. Cadmium. Like in 2011, quote, 24.8% of rice in the Chinese market was contaminated by lead and 10.3% by cadmium. Rice is still being made in heavily contaminated areas because of lack of regulations, and cadmium is hardly ever found in the trading process, unquote. 2. However, only a small amount of fallen rice is sold in Japan because of high tariffs. According to JCast News 2013, Seiyu is the only big supermarket in Japan that sells Chinese rice, and it is sold in just six prefectures. There's no harm right now. Effect 1. Japanese regulation is so weak that even very dangerous rice will flow into Japan. Journalist Aonuma 2013, quote, human-killing Chinese rice contains 0.21 to 0.4 milligram cadmium. This rice cannot be used in China because the restriction is 0.2 milligram. However, Japanese restriction is loose at 0.4 milligram. So very dangerous rice that cannot be sold in China will flow in, unquote. 2. Eating brown rice regularly will cause dangers. As for arsenic, CNN Health 2012, quote, arsenic causes lung, skin, and bladder cancer, and it could interfere with brain development and reduce childhood intelligence, unquote. As for cadmium, like in 2011, quote, in China 2006, there were 2 deaths from cadmium poisoning and 150 people chronically intoxicated. 150 people chronically intoxicated. Importance. Many lives will be damaged or even lost because of these polluted rice. The government should not put its citizens in danger. I will check the levels. DA1, damage to farmers. DA2, dangerous to health. Thank you.
Preparation time has ended. We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
My name is Honoka. I'll start my question time. Your disadvantage 1 is damage to farmer, right?
Yes.
And your disadvantage 2 is dangerous rice will appear in domestic market, right?
Yes, dangerous to
Okay,
health.
so first I have a question to your disadvantage 1.
Okay.
So after the plan, what kind of rice Japanese people will eat?
They were
Japonica rice or indica rice?
both.
Both? Why can you say so? Do you have any evidence?
Because according to our disadvantage 1, the price of Japanese rice will drop.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we will have choice to eat both.
Okay, I will go to the next question. So you said full-time farmer will be damaged, right?
Yes.
So how many full-time farmer in Japan?
According to our evidence in presentation 3, 250,000
So
full-time
what
rice
percent
farmers.
in the Japan this number is?
This percentage is about 20%.
20%?
Yes.
In all Japanese people?
Oh no, in farmers.
Farmers? Okay, thank you. And next, you say after the plan, Japanese rice will not be sold.
We didn't say that will not be sold.
Okay, most of Japanese rice will shift to foreign rice.
Yes, we will.
Right?
replace
So why
rice for
Japanese
rice.
people will buy foreign rice?
Because as we said in, okay, going back to our DA1's presentations evidence, in evidence 1, we proved that Japanese people are looking for cheaper rice, and also
okay, thank
they're,
you.
and also in our
Okay,
evidence
thank
in
you. I
FX,
go to your disadvantage too.
Okay.
So, what country's rice is dangerous?
sorry, can you repeat
What
again?
country's rice is dangerous?
We mentioned China, Taiwan, and United States, India, Thailand.
So, but you only have the data about China, right?
No, we have data from the United States, India, Thailand,
Okay, please
and
show me
also
later.
China.
Okay, next. So, do you have any evidence which chemical rice will appear in Japan by now?
Because our constructed speech is not talking about Japanese rice, so
No,
it's not relevant.
even now, by now, some foreign dangerous rice will appear in domestic market.
But the amount is very small, so there's no harm, as we proved in our presentation.
Okay, thank you. And so you said Chinese rice and US rice and Indian rice is dangerous.
Yes.
And these countries people are eating does rice,
Maybe.
and these people will killed by this rice.
As for cadmium, and as we proved in the presentation C, 1C, cadmium is causing right now like
And 2 people
2
will
deaths
kill.
and 150 people for intoxication. Sorry, thank you.
否定側の立論では プランによってもたらされる2つのディスアドバンテージ、弊害の証明が行われていました。1つ目は日本の米専業農家が壊滅するというディスアドバンテージです。これは言うならば肯定側のアドバンテージ1と真っ向から対立します。2つ目のディスアドバンテージは外国米には危険があるというものです。否定側はかなり具体的に外国産の米の一部にはヒ素だのナモリだのカドミウムだのが検出され健康被害が出た場合があると論じていました。これもある意味では消費者について論じていたアドバンテージ2と真っ向から対立するディスアドバンテージとなっています。この後のディベートではそれぞれの論証が強いかが試合の重要な分かれ道になります。それを左右するのがアタックとなります。それでは両チームのアタックを聞いていただきましょう。
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the negative attack speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges and audience. My name is Riko Ishimaro, and I'll begin. First of all, they said 82's decreasing of price happens only when 81 happens. Please confirm this. And I'd like to attack 81, present situation and importance. Attack 2, there is no necessity. Nogi Business Asakawa 2013 quote. It is not true that there is no future for agriculture because of aging farmers. Only 10% domestic agricultural product is made by farmers over 65, unquote. And there are many young farmers. And attack 3, 81 effect. Rice prices didn't rise because of the reducing acreage policy. According to Nentoke, if you look at the actual rice price, it has risen. However, the price converted into today's worth has stayed the same or decreased slightly. So abolishing the reducing acreage policy will bring no price change. And attack 4 effect, they didn't prove how farmers do effort and that they can succeed in it, and it's wrong. The only reason that prices will decrease is that large-scale farming will occur. That is impossible in Japan. It's because of geographic reasons. Daigo Satoshi, Tokyo Daigak 2013 quote. In Japan, where the farmers are scattered in mountainsides omit, the expansion of each farms, which leads to decline in production cost, is nearly impossible, unquote. And attack 5, farmers that part-time farmers have is not attractive for large-scale farmers. 2013 news quote. Much if the land which part-time farmers are farming is unsuited for farming and is not attractive for large-scale farmers and agriculture companies. Unquote. So 81 effect won't happen. And attack 6, let's move on to 82. There is no effect because 81's effect won't happen. And attack 8, 81's effect, importance. They didn't prove actual price and the amount is too little. If occur, the amount is too little. Somusho, quote, the average food consumption for a household with more than 2 people is about 67,000 yen per month in 2011, unquote. So there is no change to consumers' lives. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Ayane. I'll start my question time. Do you have 8 attack points?
Yes, 7.
7. Okay, thank you. And for your first attack point, what do you mean? Please tell me.
First attack is, first of all, they said 82's decreasing of price happens only when 81's effect happen.
First attack point. Large scale farming attack.
Fourth is it's because of geographic reasons. In Japan, large-scale farming can't occur.
Please tell me a reason. Why can you say so? Why can you say so?
So there is many scattered in mountainsides. There is many farms and scattered in mountainsides. So
and for your 5th attack point, what do you mean? Please tell me the process.
Okay, farms that part-time farmers have is not attractive for large-scale farmers. So much if the land which part-time farmers are so unsuited for farming, and it's
Why part-time farmers not attractive? Please tell
Because
me the reason.
This evidence shows proof that. Can I read this?
Show me
So
right
much
there.
if the land which
Show me right there, please.
okay.
For your second point, you said young people are increasing now.
Yes, and there is
So-
only 10% domestic agriculture products is made by farmers over 65. And there are many young farmers, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative attack speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Shimizu. For the disadvantage one, they said after the plan, 19% of Japanese rice shifted to foreign rice, but it is not true. I have two reasons. First, about price. According to Canon Code, Japanese people don't eat long grain rice, unquote. And according to Yomiuri newspaper code, the average of international Japonica rice is 167 yen per kilogram, unquote. This price is higher than Japanese rice after the plan. So the Japanese farmer can sell rice. Second, about amount. There is not so much Japonica rice in the world market. According to Yomiuri newspaper code, the trading amount of rice Japonica in the world is less than 2 million ton, unquote. This amount is only 10% in Japanese consumption. So farmers surely sell rice. And even if foreign country increase the production, Japanese farmer can continue because according to Kyushu University code, the Japanese productivity of rice is highest in Japan, so unquote. So farmer can cost down and disadvantage one doesn't stand. Moreover, disadvantage one target is only 0.002% in Japanese people, so disadvantage one is weak. For disadvantage two, first, Japanese people and Japanese check system is enough because there is not accident of danger rice in Japan, so disadvantage two have no possibility. Second, even if chemical rice appear in Japanese market, it is not problem because according to HEnDA Kenkyūjo code, 95% of rice chemical will disappear on processed cook and it don't influence on human body, unquote. So their disadvantage has no impact. And moreover, Japan, according to the Canon Global code, Japan use much chemical more than all foreign countries. So, but we eat this rice every day. So their impact is no. Thank you. I have a 3 attack for 3.
Thank you. We will now have questions from the negative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and all the audience. My name is Eriko Kuimoto, and I'll begin. So let's start with GA2, the danger to health. So in the last attack, you said that Japan has chemical as well, right?
Japanese rice?
Japanese rice has chemical as
Well,
well,
that's
right?
what I want to say. Japanese people eat Japanese rice every day, but we don't influence. And moreover, process on cook, those chemicals will disappear.
Well, in Japan?
In Japan. Japanese
well,
cooking.
why did they disappear?
Right, according to HEnDA Kenkyūjo code, most of rice chemical will disappear on process of cook. So
I'm sorry, what's the process of food?
Okay, wash the rice and
Wash the rice?
go炊飯器.
Okay, I understand. So, but you still admit that there's 5% of the chemicals still remain, right?
5%.
Yep.
No, what I want to say, those chemicals don't influence on human body after the
Okay, I
process
understand
of
that.
cook.
So okay, so where is the proof that government will wash rice?
Wash?
You said wash.
Sorry, pardon?
Okay, I move on to the next question. So about GA1, I move on to GA1. And you said that the Japonica rice is much higher, so Japonica rice will be lower than Japanese price will be much lower than foreign price. You said right?
After the plan, average of international
but
Japanese price
did you
is
say that?
167 yen.
So you said that.
You said, yeah,
Okay.
I said.
So it's compared to was. So you mean that the Japanese price? So you're comparing with the 81s and 81. And 82 happen. So comparing the Japanese price, which if 81 happens, like you're talking about the right
What
now
do you want to
current Japanese price?
Please summarize your question.
I'm smart.
Thank you.
Question time has ended. We will now have a 2-minute preparation time.
両チームのアタックとも相手の2つの争点それぞれに反論しているだけでなく複数の反論を心がけていたのは大変立派でした。アタックでは何も反論しないアドバンテージやディスアドバンテージがあってはいけないのですが、その点両チームともしっかりと両方の争点に反論していました。否定側のアタックの方は肯定側のアドバンテージ1のエフェクトに特に熱い反論ができていました。とりわけ日本で農家が生産性向上することや大規模化ができるかという点については証拠付きで反論していたのはポイントが高いです。アタックに改善の余地があるとすれば立論の後でちょっと述べましたが本当に日本の米が売れるようになるのかその証拠がないなど相手の証拠がない部分へのアタック、もう一つは重要性の不明なことに対して不明だということを指摘するというアタック、こういうのがあればなおさら良かったです。肯定側のアタックも2つのディスアドバンテージを忘れることなく反論ができていたことは大変良かったです。1点だけ非常に気になったのはアタックの中で日本の米の生産性は高いという反論があったということです。日本の農家は潰れないと述べたいのでしょう。確かにそれだけを見ればあり得る反論です。しかし試合全体を見ると肯定側は自分たちの立論では日本の農家は外からの競争にさらされると言っているわけで、それと矛盾しているかそれとも少なくとも相当説明しないと矛盾していると受け取られてしまう反論になっていました。試合をする上ではさまざまな争点が出てきますので立論とアタックでどれだけ一貫した立場にできるかいつも注意してください。とはいえアタックの結果この時点では両チームともちゃんと再反論しないとアドバンテージやディスアドバンテージはかなりゼロに近いところになってしまっています。ディフェンスでこれができているかをご覧ください。
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative defense speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Ayane. But for the second attack point, they say young people are interested in agriculture, but it is weak. According to Food Peptide, quote, some young people are interested in agriculture because of job shortage now, unquote. So if job shortage recover, young people want to get job in business and so on. So their attack is weak. Second, for the fourth attack point, they say Japan is a mountain area, so gathering farmland is difficult. But our goal is not large-scale farming, but the decrease of the cost of production. And according to Chuo Kenkyujo, quote, Japanese productivity is higher than foreign it, unquote. So if farmers become motivated, the Gentan policy is removed, the productivity will rise and the personal expense will decrease, and they will not attack this point, so the cost of production will decrease surely. Third, for their fifth attack point, they said part-time farmers don't want to rent farmland, but their data is the present situation, and the situation between now and after the plan is different. After the plan, part-time farmers' agricultural income will disappear because they quit. Then if they rent farmland, they will get subsidy. So when farmers suffer from difficult situation, they will have priority over benefit for living in the first place. So they cannot help renting farmland. Fourth, for their seventh attack point, they said people's merit is small. But what we want to say, after the plan, people's lives will be shareless because of the increase of the consumption tax. In such a situation, it is very important for people to save as much money as possible. Many a little makes a miracle. So their attack does not apply to our advantage too. And fifth, for their first and sixth attack point, from this defense point, our advantage one will happen. So our advantage two will also happen. And sixth, for their third attack point, they calculate themselves, so their their attack is unclear, and the data is also unclear, so their third attack point doesn't stand. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now hear the negative defense speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, all honorable judges, and all the audience. My name is Eriko Kimoto, and I'll begin. So let's start with GA1, danger to farmers. First of all, I will prove that Japanese will buy foreign rice. And in first attack, they say that Japanese rice will be much lower than Japanese rice. But however, this evidence, I checked this evidence, but this evidence only stands if they're 80 cents. So as we successfully explained in attack speech, there won't be any decrease in Japanese rice made by Japanese. So this attack doesn't stand. And about second one, they say that in world market there's not much Japanese rice, but however, their evidence is too old. I have a newer evidence. Kyushu University Professor Ito, quote, in China, there is a sharp rise in rice production in Korisho province. In this province alone, there is more production of Japanese rice than in Japan. If an increase in Japanese market evident, improvement of rice quality to meet Japan, the impact of the trend of Japanese food and sushi be strong, Japanese rice production is increasing. In China, it is used to be produced only 5 provinces, but recently it is spreading to many provinces around Tokyo, Yunnan province, and others. Also in Kogyo province, it was only less than 0.8 million hectares in 90s, but now it became 2.3 million, and production amount is more than 10 million tons, while Japan's gross production is much lesser than that. So their evidence is really old, so don't take this. So it means that they say even they're at 0.002%, but still there is 250,000 people suffering with this DA1. So this is really large. So let's move on to DA2. But they say that there's no danger in Japan, so it's okay. But actually, there's no danger because there's no foreign rice that much in Japan. Please confirm this. And also, they said about it, there's 50% chemical with decrease. But however, their only proof is that they're gonna wash rice. But however, as well in Chinese people will wash rice as well. So even if it happens, there is a 5%. They'll kill 2 deaths. In please confirm effect 2 second evidence. We said that 2 deaths will occur and 150 a year will chronically disease. Thank you.
Thank you.
ディフェンスでは相手チームからの反論、アタックに応える形で自分たちのチームの立論に基づいて自分たちの争点を立て直す必要があります。重要なのは単に反論に反論するという細かい作業をすることだけではありません。あくまで自分たちの立論に根拠はあり、しかも重要だということをジャッジに再度説得するということです。肯定側も否定側も相手の反論点を無視することなく再反論をしようとしていた点は大変良かったです。ただ、肯定側に改善の余地があるとすれば、できるだけ相手のアタックの順番通りに議論を組み立てることでしょうか。やはり聞いていてあちこち議論が飛ぶのは理解がしやすいとは言えません。ディフェンスでは少なくとも一つのアドバンテージやディスアドバンテージについて3つとも小論点を守りきるのだという意識でディベートをしてほしいのですが、肯定側はアドバンテージ1の特に農地や生産性へのエフェクトで疑問が残ってしまう点、アドバンテージ2の重要性がわからないままだという点など多少守りきれなかった部分があります。 定側もディサドバンテージ1は相手のアタックの証拠に噛みつくなど相当立て直せていましたが、ディサドバンテージ2は危険性が薄らいだままでした。両チームともアタックが激しかったので、かなり小さくアドバンテージやディスアドバンテージがなってしまったまま終盤を迎えたと、そういう形になっています。では総括をご覧ください。
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative summary speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay.
Please say your name and start.
My name is Honoka. I will start my summary speech. First, I will explain why the disadvantages possibility is low. The disadvantage 1 and 2 both stand up be based off data which 90% of Japanese rice will shift to foreign rice. But this 90% data is wrong. I have 2 reasons. First reason, as we prove in attack speech, majority of Japanese people are eating Japonica rice, and there are only 10% of Japanese consumption Japonica rice in the world. So even if Japan imports all this rice, only 10% of Japanese rice shifts to foreign rice. And even if foreign country increase the product of Japonica rice, as we said in attack speech, still expensive than Japanese rice. So it is impossible to think 90% of Japanese rice shifts to foreign rice. And the second reason, 90% data calculated based on all foreign rice is 57 yen. But this data is the cheapest price data. However, the average foreign Japonica rice is 167 yen. This price is more expensive than after the plant's Japanese 133 yen price data. And this 133 yen price is only aberration of Gentan policy. So if farmers do large-scale farming, this Japanese rice price will be less than 133 yen. And even if it is only 10%, it is sure that Japanese government cannot adjust the domestic rice price. So Gentan policy will disappear, and Japanese farmer will take away their share. So, and no one knows who will take their share. So it is sure all farmers will under the face of crisis, and all farmers will face of challenge. And second, I will explain our advantage 1 and the disadvantage 1, talking about completely problem. So if our advantage 1 will happen, the disadvantage 1 will not happen, and full-time farmer will not suffer. Therefore, please compare which have more possibility, our advantage 1 or disadvantage 1. Of course, our advantage 1. I have 4 reasons. First reason, as we proved, 90% of Japanese rice will not shift to foreign rice. Only 10% shift. So full-time farmer can continue their farming. And the second reason, cutting down personal expensive, and they didn't attack the point of cutting down personal expenses, for example, using machine and so on. So it is sure full-time farmer can make their rice more cheap. And the third reason, they didn't attack the point of exporting. So it is sure after the plan, full-time farmer can export rice to foreign country and can get merit. And fourth, as we said in defense speech, full-time farmer can do large-scale farming. So our advantage 1 surely happen. Third, please compare which is more emergency problem or advantage 1 or disadvantages. They said present rice agriculture is satisfactory. But we said in our advantage 1, the problem of present rice agriculture is aging. So even if present situation is satisfactory, in the future the number of rice farmers will decrease. It means that if Japan keeps the present situation, rice agriculture will be destroyed after 8 years certainly. And whether or not Japan introduces this plan, the disadvantage will happen. So if so, Japan should introduce this plan which have possibility of improvement. So our advantage 1 is more emergency problem than their disadvantages. First, I will explain why our advantage 2 will surely stand. They misunderstand our advantage 2. What we want to say in our advantage 2, unnecessary policy of government makes rice high price and waste people's money. If Japan keeps the present situation, Japan continue to waste money, and they didn't attack the process of our advantage 2. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now hear the final speech of this round, the negative summary speech for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Miku Yamada, and I would like to summarize this debate. First of all, I would like to summarize this debate from the viewpoint of quality, impact on people's lives. First of all, look at 81. In their present situation, they said that Japan's agriculture has no future. However, we attacked this, saying that only 10% of agricultural products is made by people over 65. They did not defend this. So most of Japan's agriculture is dependent on young farmers. So there's no problem even if we continue the present situation. So there's no necessity for this plan. And we proved that large-scale farming is we cannot do large-scale farming in Japan because expansion is impossible. And in their cross-examination, they said that they can use machines because they will share land. But so this will also not happen. And there was no strong evidence for their exports. So nothing will happen after 81. And so there would be no impacts on people's lives. And furthermore, think of this. Right now, they didn't prove that people will suffer if we continue this present situation. So there will be no impacts on people's lives. Second, please look at 82. We proved that rice prices won't change even if we stop the reducing price, even if we stop the Gensan Seisaku, because it's not, it doesn't really, there's no real connection between them. We showed a graph, and we showed that large-scale farming is impossible. So Japanese rice won't fall to 130 yen. And though they said, and they didn't defend the fact that it is really small and it won't really affect people's lives. Maybe it is better if we can save more money, but that won't really change people's lives. And and consumers aren't suffering right now, so there is no need to implement this plan. On the other hand, please look at the negative side. In DA1, we proved that because the fact that Japanese rice will be cheaper is wrong, people will buy cheap foreign rice. And we defended the fact that there is not much Japanese rice in the world by saying that in just one province in China, there's 10 million tons, which is more than Japan's consumption. So this will, so 90% will definitely be replaced, and all farmers will be in the red, and they'll be in severe poverty. 250,000 people will be in severe poverty. This is very serious, and this will destroy these people's lives. And as for DA2, they said that Japanese rice is dangerous, and they said that chemicals will decrease during cooking rice, but they didn't. That was just about Japanese chemicals. We proved that arsenic, lead, and cadmium causes real harm in foreign countries. So these chemicals will not vanish even if we cook rice. So what will happen if these consumers eat this rice? There was 2 deaths and 150 people intoxicated in just 1 year by cadmium. People's lives will be destroyed after the plan. So the Japanese government should think about what is more important. Right now there's no real problem to people's lives, but after the plan, people's lives will be destroyed. We must not implement this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
両チームとも基本に忠実な良い総括でした。総括の基本は相手の議論を忘れずに要約反論しながら自分たちのアドバンテージやディスアドバンテージを再度強調し、最後に両チームのアドバンテージディスアドバンテージを比較する、そういう作業になります。肯定側の総括に多少改善の余地があるとすれば、相手があまり攻撃できていなかったアドバンテージ2、無駄遣いをなくすという利点の意義について重要性を強調するという点でしょう。否定側は自分たちのディスアドバンテージの重要性が相手と比較すると大きいと言えていました。もし肯定側がアドバンテージを大きく見せかけることができれば、実は試合の中で十分に勝つ余地がありました。ただこの試合では実は肯定側の重要性は最初の立論の段階ですでに薄かったので、もちろん総括だけで何とかなるわけではありません。ディベートではチームワークが問われますので、序盤に述べたことが最終盤になっても重要になってきます。とりわけ最後の価値についての比較は序盤での立論が後になって効いてきます。では最後に大会の公表と試合結果をご覧ください。Hello friends once again! How was the tournament? Was it good? Yeah! Thanks, I thought so too. As a chief judge, I would like to start from a sincere thanks to all of the teachers who brought the brightest students here in this Matsumoto University. And obviously, all the devoted teachers of Nagano Prefecture and the staff of Nagano Prefecture and Arukuma-kun maybe for their hard effort. Thank you very much. About the 2 teams of the final round, their effort in the final round is a typical example
of this quality of the whole tournament. I am quite sure that the quality of this tournament, the whole tournament, was top class. We started 7 years ago, but we have come a long way. In these debates, we need a lot of evidence. Evidence is the core of rational arguments. So to define good debate, one of the definitions is how well the evidence is used. And obviously, this is a very tough topic. The right topic is actually debated by Japanese government and United States government and all the TPP people. But obviously, we need evidence to support our positions. And that's what the two girl teams were doing in the final round. And I hope you will praise the two excellent teams for their effort in the final round. They're standing there. As I mentioned, evidence is very important, and in the whole tournament, the usage of evidence the number of evidence quoted has increased quite a lot. But I have to warn some things about the usage of evidence too. It is very important to quote evidence, but you have to be careful about three things. That's not only about the two teams here, but about Chuo. First thing, if you want to quote a lot of evidence, you have to be really careful about how to read it. I mean, the articulation is very important. Some of the teams, not necessarily the finalist teams, but some of the teams were quoting like this. 60 people will be damaged. Does that make sense? Obviously, if you want to quote important numbers, you have to quote it slowly. Obviously, generally, you have to slow down when you quote important things. Not just the numbers, but you have to be very articulate too. For example, if you want to emphasize the numbers, you quote like around 250,000 people will be damaged. That kind of articulation will emphasize your impact. So please slow down when you are quoting a very important number. And second thing you should take care of is the authority of the evidence. Obviously, it is very important to quote data that are reliable. In that sense, the authority is very important. So you should always quote what was the source of your evidence. And obviously, this is a very good thing to take into account when you are an opponent. Some of the teams quoted a lot from Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture, obviously, is a governmental institution, but they have their interest too in agriculture. So their simulations may not be as reliable as some neutral scientists there. May not be. There are some government people here, so I'm sorry. But I'm not talking about Ministry of Education. I'm talking about different ministry. I'm sorry. But obviously, if you want to support your argument, please quote the source. And at the same time, distinguish which part is the original data and which part is your own calculation. Some of the schools did your own calculations deciding the impact of, for example, the cheaper rice coming into Japan. That's okay, but you have to specify which part is the calculation and which part is the original data. You should quote that the data from Ministry of Agriculture suggests that the price is this, and we calculated that the damage will be this. You should specify the difference between the original quotation and your speculations. And the third thing that you should take into account is that if you use a lot of evidence and if you quote a lot of facts, you often get into contradictions within your own arguments. I mean, your own team's argument. you may contradict your partner's argument. For example, in the final round, there was a lot of argument about productivity of Japanese rice. The affirmative attack talked that the Japanese rice productivity is very high, the highest in Japan. But if that was so, what would happen in the constructive speech talking that the Japanese productivity will be higher if there is competition from other countries? That might not be a contradiction, but it seems to be killing each other in terms of the same catchword productivity. So please be careful about your own positions when you're quoting a lot of data. That's the general comment. About the final round, both sides presented well-structured arguments, and actually the two attack speakers were very good. So the two advantages were like decreased to nothing after the attack speeches. After that, there was a difference between the defense and the summary speeches, but I will have to praise the attack speakers for doing a wonderful job of decreasing the opponent's issues. Affirmative presented two advantages. Future of agriculture will be damaged. They argue that in 8 years, if we did nothing, Japanese agriculture will be gone. Advantage two was we are wasting a lot of tax money and we're wasting a lot of money for high-priced rice. Negative argued two disadvantages. One is about the damage to the Japanese farming when the cheap rice comes, and second about the poisoned rice will come. Obviously, we took into account a lot of attacks, and I want to get into it deeply, but it will take like 30 minutes, and people are looking at me already to shorten the speech. So I would like to ask Arkuma-kun, what was the result? Who voted for which? Oh, you're sad. Actually, okay. Actually, 5 of the judges thought that the negative attacks on the advantage was strong enough to kill a lot of advantage, but the negative at least was enough to show that there will be some damage caused by health issues and the damage to the farmers. So all of the judges actually voted to the Cinderella girls from Kobe College. Congratulations.
試合の公表をされていた方は明らかに obviously という言葉が口癖になっていますね。公表でゆるキャラのアルクマさんからの伝言の形で試合結果が述べられていましたように、勝敗としては決勝戦のジャッジ5人とも否定側に入れました。しかし細かいところを見ていると実際には僅差の試合でした。アタックやディフェンスの後のコメントでも述べましたが、アドバンテージもディスアドバンテージも最終的にはともにかなり小さくなっていました。アドバンテージ1、日本の農業が立ち直るという肯定側の主張については、否定側のアタックが上回り、そもそも日本の農家の将来はこのままでも若い者が多く大丈夫だ。かつ関税撤廃後に大規模化することは地理的に不可能だなどの反論が残ったため、ほぼアドバンテージがなくなってしまいました。アドバンテージ2、無駄遣いの方は実はエフェクトについてはほとんど争われなかったので残っています。ただし本当にそれが重要な問題なのか、否定側のアタックでも総括でも問題の中に出てきましたが、肯定側は最後まで具体的に反論しなかったのが痛いです。対してディスアドバンテージ1、米農家が壊滅するという否定側の争点については、確かに肯定側のアタックも良かったのですが、ディフェンスがそれを上回る証拠で、例えば外国産の米の生産地が増えており、しかも格安で輸入される可能性が高いことを守っていましたので、米生産の専業農家25万人の将来についてのディスアドバンテージは残せました。ディスアドバンテージ2は、そもそも米の健康被害につながるのか、 肯定側アタックが証拠と非常にユーモラスなジェスチャーで示していたように、ほとんど洗い流されてしまうかもしれないという疑問が残りました。そのためディスアドバンテージとしてはかなり減ることになり、ほんの少しだけ危険が残ることになりました。総合するとディスアドバンテージ1がそれなりの強さで残ったのに対し、アドバンテージ2はディスアドバンテージ2よりは事実に裏付けられているものの重要性が曖昧なので、否定側のディスアドバンテージ1とディスアドバンテージ2を合計した方が肯定側より上回るという判定になりました。よって否定側の勝ちとなります。決勝戦は2日間の激闘の疲労がたまり、しかも500人以上の観客の前で相当なプレッシャーの中で行われる試合です。聞くと2つのチームとも生徒主体で準備し全国大会に臨んだそうです。最後まで気を抜かずにチームのみんなを励まし合い、実力を出し切ったこの2つのチームにはただただ感服します。伊那北 and Kobe College, you really were fantastic. Great job, both of you. The latter half of this DVD takes up one of the semifinals, which was, needless to say, held before the final round. On the affirmative side is Kobe College, and on the negative side is Saitama Municipal Urawa High School. In the preliminary rounds, Municipal Urawa won all 10 votes and was first place. The semifinal was a very close debate, definitely one of the matches that had the most prepared two teams in very good shape. It is arguably the best debate throughout the whole tournament. Good debate needs two really good teams, and that's very rare. So my comments on this round will be brief and focus more on how to judge, not how to debate. Hopefully, this may give you a picture of what should be going on during the round when you will be judging.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Kali Matsuki, and I'll begin. 81. Concluding FTAs. Concluding FTAs. Penetration. 1. Japan cannot conclude FTAs with major business partners such as the United States, China, Korea, and Australia because of extremely high rice tariffs. 社団法人経済同友会2009. Fourth. Japan's agricultural finance is concentrated on rice in negotiations. It's always rice which remains the main problem. Unquote. According to Dr. Tanaka 2009, Japan excludes agricultural products, primarily rice, which is a big problem in concluding FTAs, especially with developed countries. This is why negotiations with Australia, the United States, and EU do not proceed at all. Unquote. 2. This causes damage to all industries in Japan. According to Toyo Keizai 2011, EU abolished tariff on vital products from Korea, so now Japanese makers have a huge disadvantage. If Japan keeps protecting particular group profits and FTA negotiations don't advance, Japanese companies will be left behind and employment and competitiveness will be lost. Unquote. Effect. 1. By removing tariffs on rice, the symbol of Japan's protection policy, Japan will be able to conclude treaties with many countries. Sanken News 2013. 4. The United States and Australia are strongly demanding the lowering rice tariffs. Unquote. 2. As all the tariffs will be removed, Japan can export many things such as cars, machines, and also rice, which will benefit farmers. Unquote. Importance. 1. Even one FTA would drastically improve Japan's economy. JETRO 2012. Quote. Japan will get the biggest benefit from Japan, China, and Korea FTA. Japan's GDP will increase by 1.1%. Unquote. 2. According to Japan Fair Trade Commission 2013, as resources are scarce, Japan's economy has developed by importing fuel sources and processing and exporting them. In 2012, Japan's total trade was 134 trillion yen, 134 trillion yen, which is much higher than Japan's annual budget. As more and more countries are concluding FTAs, if we don't conclude treaties, Japan will be left behind in trade and lose its global market. We must change the situation in which rice tariff will threaten Japan's whole economy. 82. Saving poor people. Presentation. 1. The government has been overprotecting all class farmers with high tariffs and making consumers bear the burdens of high costs. HEnDA business 2011. Quote. The money used to sustain the high market price is, 1 trillion yen for rice. Consumers have been bearing this cost, unquote. 2. Poor people are claiming that current food prices are too high. According to Yahoo News 2013, 56% of households getting public assistance can only afford less than 30,000 yen amount for food, and 13% cannot even afford 10,000 yen amount. This means they cannot even afford 300 yen for food per day. 自由報道協会田中 2013 quote, a person getting public assistance claimed public assistance was cut since August. Food prices are just too high. I don't know what to cut from my expenditure, unquote. As a result, poor people are starving. According to厚生労働省 2011, in Japan, 1,746 people starve to death in a year. Unquote. Effect. Cheap foreign rice will be imported. According to MFF 2013, the average pure rice exchange price for Japanese rice was 430 yen for 1 kilogram. On the other hand, California short grain rice is 86 yen. This is 1/5 of Japanese rice. 2. Poor people can buy all rice at cheaper price and they would be able to save 3,000 yen per month. Shirabuku University of North Texas 2003. Quote, Japanese rice consumers will receive benefits from importing rice on it. The price of rice could drop to half of its current price, and Japanese family could save $30 every month on rice if Japan opens its rice market, unquote. Importance. Saving 3,000 yen amount means a person will be able to use 100 yen for food more than what he uses now. This will save the lives of the poor people who can only afford 300 yen a day. Nikkei 2013. Quote, a former taxi driver stabbed to death directly after public assistance was stopped on it. In his diary, he wrote, I want to eat rice bowl, unquote. We must implement this plan to save people's lives. Thank you.
When you judge a policy debate, like in the HEnDA format, you don't score each speeches. To decide the winner, you compare the final outcome of the affirmative and the negative issues. Eloquence or style should play very small role, or should I say nearly close to zero role in deciding the winner. So what do you do when each speech is over? You don't score the speech, but after each speech, you should mentally analyze the tentative strengths of each advantage and disadvantage. You should think about what are the 3 key sub-issues are missing or weak. What is the proven probability so far of each issue? Is the importance explained clear enough? Such kind of tentative analysis. At the end of the affirmative constructive speech, you analyze such things. Please note here that you are just still assigning the tentative strength, and this will surely be weakened as the debate moves on to the next stage. In most of the case, the tentative strength of an advantage should seem strongest at the end of the affirmative constructive speech. Mostly, it can only go downhill. In some cases, the issues may be weak from the beginning, even without the attacks. In the semifinal, the affirmative case was brilliant. The case Advantage 1 talks about the chance of free trade agreements, FTA. This I can say would be the favorite case for rice tariff debate if the case was made by real-world economists. But strangely, in the high school debate tournament, some schools, only few schools like Kobe College or Takezono were running it. Kobe College at least did a very good job. The choice of Advantage 2 was really clever in many senses too. It focused just on the impact to the poor class. This seems to weaken the importance of the advantage, but actually their factual proof was solid by limiting the issue. The impact may be just 3,000 yen a month. It seems small, but affirmative convincingly proved that it means a lot to some low-income classes. The importance of advantage 2 was very vividly illustrated using the episode of a starving poor person who wanted a rice bowl. The absolute amount of money does not itself prove the importance. 1 trillion yen, 3,000 yen. Concrete numbers are very fine, but it gets even better if you paint the colors of the numbers. Don't just leave the numbers colorless. The choice of advantage 2 is clever because its effect and importance are independent from the advantage 1. Also, you will discover that these advantages don't contradict the affirmative attacks later on. So at this stage, the affirmative advantages are quite strong. But once again, this is tentative. This will surely go downhill. And the descent actually starts from the question and answers, which successfully question some elements and weaken the advantages. At every stage, including the QAs, you modify these tentative strengths of the issues mentally, perhaps using the preparation time.
Are you ready? Yes. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Atsa. I have some questions. So on your advantage point, you talked about the concluding FTA, is it right?
Yes.
So first of all, which country do you focus on?
Okay, according to our evidence and our presentation and the fact, United States, Australia, China, Korea, and EU.
So you mean that we can conclude an FTA with such all countries?
Oh, well, yes.
So, okay, thank you.
Because they're
So
demanding the rights.
do you have evidence that no, we can conclude with all the countries?
Okay, at least not.
So can you prove that?
Well, because those countries want Japan to remove tariffs on rice. So.
Okay, thank you. And you said that so tariff on rice is the obstacle to join to conclude FTA. Is
Yes.
it right?
Yes.
So is it only obstacle?
Well, look at our presentation. One's evidence, 2 evidences, and we clearly proved that Japan is protecting the rice crops, and that is the
So
obstacle.
is it only obstacle? I'm
Yes.
asking.
In the
Yes.
last
Yes.
thing.
Do you have evidence?
Yes.
So please show me the later. So, okay, thank you. So I want to ask about advantage 2. So you said that you talk about saving per people. Is it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So in the first situation, you said that 1,700 people died
Yes.
in the starvation, but is it because of rice, lack of rice?
Well, it's because because as we proved in our presentation to the evidence, because those poor people cannot afford even 300 yen a day, so that is the reason why.
So because of rice?
Because food prices.
So why this plan is needed to save such 1,700 people?
Because they can save the money from that
Is
is
the money and buy rice. So why do they have to eat rice?
okay because rice is of course our staple food and they
Staple
eat
food,
rice.
but of course we have other kinds of foods.
But so what we
Why?
are saying in this constructive speech is that we can save the money, not eating rice. So
Okay, thank you. And so after the plan, you said that we can save 3,000 yen in a month. Is it right? So where your evidence is coming from?
this evidence comes from as we proved in effect 2, Professor Shirai worked from University of North Texas 2003.
So the professor calculation, yeah?
Yes.
Calculated. Okay, thank you. And so after the plan, how many people will be saved?
Well, okay, so going back to our presentation, the second, about the people who are getting public assistance or in difficult situation. Sorry,
Okay, thank you. That's
so
all.
much.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Natsuki. We, the Saitama Municipal Law team, believe that Japanese government should not remove the tariff on lice import. Disadvantage when the damage of lice farming, For this situation, rice is Japanese staple food. 88% of Japanese eat rice every day. Thanks to the government support, Japanese lice farming has been developing. According to Jay, in 2013, the productivity of lice farming has been steadily increasing. In addition, Japanese lice is highly evaluated in the world market. The lice export has increased by 45% for 1 year from 2010 to 11. So today's situation is very good. There's no necessity to change this situation effect. However, after the plan, the cheap falling lice will come because the price of falling lice is almost half of Japanese rice. According to Lice Staple Supply Organization 2013, about 80% of the Japanese consumers answered price is the most important factor to choose rice. Then, Japanese farming will be damaged. According to the professor of University of Tokyo, Mr. Daigo, in 2013, rice farmers under 1 hectare will have to stop rice farming even if they can get subsidies. It means about 73% of farmers will have to stop rice farming and 50% of rice production will be lost. Significance. Rice is one of the most important industries in Japan. According to Ministry of Agriculture in 2006, the rice farming is a market of 1.8 trillion yen in itself. In addition, there are rice-associated industry. For example, the market of rice mushroom industry is 300 billion yen, and the market of rice fertilizer is 230 billion yen. In total, the market of rice-associated industry is about 2.3 trillion yen. If 50% of rice production is lost, 50% of this industry will be damaged. So we can roughly calculate that about 1.1 trillion yen is economically lost. Disadvantage 2, the loss of function of rice field. For this situation, rice fields have very important function of natural environment in Japan. According to Ministry of Agriculture in 2001, there are 4 functions except rice farming. First, rice fields prevent flood. Actually, rice fields can keep as much water as 60 dams. Second, rice fields control water of rivers. Third, rice fields prevent soil erosion. If rice fields are lost, more than 5,000 tons of soil will erode. Fourth, rice fields dispose natural waste. According to the Ministry of Agriculture in 2001, these functions are valued at about 5.3 trillion yen in total, so rice fields play an important role in environment effect. However, if we carry out the plan, a lot of cheaper falling rice will come. According to the professor of University of Tokyo, Mr. Daigo said, farmers less than 1 hectare will give up rice farming. According to 21st Century Public Policy Institute in 2012, 40% of rice field is less than 1 hectare. So by the plan, 40% of rice field will stop rice farming. It means Japan will lose 40% of function of rice field. Significance. 40% of the loss of function will damage the budget of government because government have to make up for 4 functions by alternative ways. The functions are valued at about 5.3 trillion yen. So this damage will be 40% of 5.3 trillion yen. It will be about 2.1 trillion yen. In order to make up for this function from rice field, Japan has to spend 2.1 trillion yen for the alternative ways every year to keep this level of environment. In addition, as long as the government will not make alternative ways, citizens will be damaged by disasters like flood and soil erosion. For this reason, we should not carry out the plan. Disadvantage 1, the damage of rice farming. Japan will lose 1.1 trillion yen worth of industry. Disadvantage 2, the loss of function of rice field. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now you have 1 minute preparation time.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Miki Yamada, and I would like to ask some questions. So first of all, I would like to ask about DA1. So your effect, you said that farmers with farmland under 1 hectare will quit, right? Will have to quit.
Yes.
Okay. Why do they have to quit?
Because the farmers under 1 hectare are not so strong to compete, strong enough to compete with foreign life.
So is it because they won't get profits?
Excuse me?
So it's because they won't get profits after the plan, right?
Sorry.
Is it because they won't get money after the plan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so this is because consumers will buy cheap foreign rice, right? This is because consumers will Yes, in fact, so
Yes,
this will...
80% of Japanese consumers answered price is the most important factor to choose rice.
Okay, thank you. And so your importance is about economical loss, right?
Yes.
Thank you. And it's 1.1 trillion yen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And how will that affect people's lives? What is important?
Okay, I'll explain. So 1 trillion yen is very big. The loss of this, it will lead the loss of the benefit of companies, and then it will lead the less salary, and of course it will lead the less consumption. It will definitely discourage today's economic loss.
Okay, thank you. Next, I would like to ask about DA2.
Yes.
So you're important. So do you have any evidence to show that when rice fields are abolished, floods or disasters increase?
Yes. Of course.
Did you prove that in your constructive speech?
In our constructive speech?
Yes.
So as I said, there.
You said that there are many functions of rice,
Yes.
right? So that's your
Of
evidence.
course, we have evidence. So, for example, there.
Okay. Thank you. What exactly is the importance? Is it that the economy will get a loss?
Of course, as long as the government will not alternative waste, citizens will be damaged by disaster. Of
Okay,
course,
so-
it will.
thank you.
And then, of course, the government have to make up for 4 functions by alternative waste. It will cost 2.1 trillion yen every year.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to go back to DA1. In your present situation, you said that Japanese rice is highly evaluated in the world market, right?
Yes.
So then why will, if a Japanese rice is so good, why will consumers buy cheap foreign rice?
Because
Because it's
explain,
cheap,
they just prefer the cheaper rice.
So it's because it's cheap. Okay, thank you. And so DA2 will happen if farmers quit, right?
Excuse me?
DA2 will happen when rice farmers quit, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so that is because you said that the Ministry of Agriculture said that farmers under 1 hectare will have to quit.
No, Ministry of Agriculture. The professor of University of Tokyo.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
When you are judging, as I said before, you mentally analyze the strengths of the issues after each stage. The negative issues were both strong. They had good evidence supporting the effect, and the importance was shown by concrete numbers, which are huge. Disadvantage 1, damage to the rice farming and industry, 1.1 trillion yen. Disadvantage 2, natural disaster caused by abandoned rice paddies, 2.1 trillion yen. But the number may be a little colorless compared to the affirmative illustration. Maybe you can illustrate the concrete meaning of this huge number. But you can say that the negative arguments are strong enough, at least as strong as advantage 1, which deals also with trillion yen impact. But needless to say, these 2 disadvantages will go down. Just go downhill.
Are you ready? Please say your name and start. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Makoyamazaki. Today I'm a five out of four first results about the advantage 1. They said the 3,000 yen will be saved. However, on the advantage 1, they talked about FTA, but it's not true because the tariff is not only the burden. According to Nikkei newspaper in 2013, we have other. Look at this graph. We have other 9 kinds of barriers except for tariff. For example, destruction of infrastructure system, protection of intellectual property, and so on. U.S. government requires these things, but they focus on many countries. It means that each country has its demand or its burdens. So we cannot conclude FTA with many countries only by removing tariff on rice. They say, first of all, the merit from FTA will not happen because there are many burdens and burdens except for tariffs. In addition, even if we can join FTA, it is not sure that we can get merit from export. For example, the strong yen or and so on, so that their impact is very small and their process is very, very weak. Next, I'd like to add their advantage too. They said 3,000 yen will be saved. However, they focused on only California rice. However, they did not show that how many people buy the California rice, so their evidence is very unreliable. However, we have very reliable evidence. According to Daiichi Games Research Institute in 2013, even if people buy cheaper rice, each family can save only 625 yen. 625 yen per a month. How many people really need this 625 yen? What can they do? The situation will not change at all. Next, even if they can save 625 yen, it will not be benefit. Our disadvantage too. As we said, 2.1 trillion yen will be lost from our tax every year. However, now there are 500 billion families in Japan. So we can easily estimate that each family will have to pay 3,500 yen, 3,500 yen per month. So their marriage will totally disappear. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now have questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and all the audience. My name is Hyogo, and I'll begin. So let's start with 82. So you said in the last attack, you said that people have to pay for 2.1 trillion yen, right?
Final thought?
The final thought, you said that people have to pay for 2.1 trillion yen,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So where to prove that people have to pay for this?
Yes, people.
Now, where do you prove that people have to pay for this? Not the government, but the poor people who can afford only 300 yen for a day.
Because on our disadvantage too, the government have to pay the 2.1 trillion yen because to cover the function of public bill. So
You're just assuming that. Okay, I'll go to the next question. So you said that only 625 yen will be the benefit, right?
yes,
So why can you say that this evidence is much clearer than and more reliable than our effective one? Evidence we say that $30 will be beneficial.
so first of all, your evidence focuses on the only California
Oh, so
rice.
you're only talking about the average amount. Average amount, including people who are wealthy enough to consider about taste and safety and other things.
Sorry, wait,
So
excuse me?
is this data only the average of people including people who can afford to buy tasty one because they're wealthy enough?
So, but
Okay, I'll go to the 81. So in the 81, you said that merit is too small, but where's the evidence for that?
81.
So 81, you said that in importance, the 1.1% of GDP increase is little. You said it's too little.
First of all, the merit from FTV will not happen because there are many processes.
Yeah, I understand that,
So-
but and even if it happened, then you said that the importance will be very big, right?
Because the export is very risky. For example, when the yen is strong, the export industry is in less. So the situation is much better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question time has ended. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Rikoshima, and I'll begin. First of all, DA2 only happened when DA1 happened. Please confirm this. Attack 1, DA1. Japanese won't buy foreign rice, so DA1 and DA2 won't happen. Nihon Keizai Shimbun 2013 quote. Even if foreign rice flows in, 80% replied that they have resistance, over 40% because of some safety problems, unquote. And attack 2, DA1 fact. All farmers under 1 hectare is all part-time farmers who have income from other jobs, so they won't be damaged. In fact, they won't quit. And so the Tokyo Daigaku Suzuki 2013 quote, small-scale rice farmer continue rice farming even when they are in the red. 70% of production is by farmer continuing farming in the red. According to Nokyo Kyosai Soken 24 survey, 83.3% of farmers answered that they will continue farming no matter what the price become because they cheaply make rice for their home, unquote. And attack 3, DA1 effect. And they can export rice highly evaluated, so there is no damage. And attack 5, and DA2 won't happen because DA1 won't happen. DA1 don't happen. And attack 6, DA2 importance. It is better for economy after the plan than before the plan. Yamashita, Keizai Gakusha Yamashita 2013 quote. People's burdens will be smaller if we import agricultural products at a global standard price and deal with preventing floods and cultivating water resources with dams and planting trees. Unquote. So imports better before the plan. And they added 7. They didn't prove that the land will be used for housing. It won't and the many functions won't be lost. Noting Kinyu 21 quote. If agricultural production is stopped in Japan, and the land will naturally return to woods and marshes. Almost all functions such as making groundwater, maintaining biodiversity, and preventing landslides are greater in woods and marshes compared to farms. Unquote. So all GA2 won't happen.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Akane Nakamura. I'd like to ask you some questions. So firstly, you have 7 data points, is it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And on your first data point, you said that citizens will not buy foreign rice after the plan. Is it
Yes.
right?
Almost all students, 80%.
Because they feel resistance.
And 40% becomes safety problems.
Okay, thank you. And on your second data point, you said that almost all farmers are foreign farmers, so they will not have damage.
Your DA1 is about farmer under 1 hectare, as I will be said in cross-examination. So all farmer under 1 hectare is all part farmer.
And you said that 83% of farmers will continue farming, is it right?
Yes, so small, yes.
But they said they just want to...
Okay. Small-scale rice farmer now continues rice farming even when they are in the red. Because
okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'd like to move on to the next question. And on your third point is that there is no damage. There will be no damage by your plan.
Attack 4.
On your third point, what did you say?
Is we can export rice highly evaluated because you said Japanese rice is highly evaluated in present situation, so we can export.
Okay, thank you. And
So
on your
there's no
fourth point, what did you say? What is your fourth point?
For attack is disadvantage 2 and so DA2 won't happen and DA2 won't happen. Because DA1
okay,
won't
thank
happen.
you. And on your sixth point is that the economic burden will decrease because of the...
Your importance is Japanese government lost economic
Okay, thank you. So could you show me the evidence of 6 and evidence later about them? Okay, thank you. That's all.
Wow, the attacks were fierce. Simply brilliant. Advantage 1 lost some probability already. It's shown that there are other obstacles to FTAs. And the impact is slightly attacked, decreasing some importance. Advantage 2, counter evidence are shown. Actually, it may be just 625 yen. It's not even 3,000 yen. The importance was challenged. Disadvantage 1, links were weakened. Affirmative argued that most of the nation won't buy foreign rice. That changed the whole picture. Probably the best attacks were on the disadvantage 2. It is revealed here that disadvantage 2 actually depend on the proof of the disadvantage 1. And if disadvantage 1 doesn't happen, then both of the disads won't happen. Very smart move by the affirmative. Also, some great evidence on the effect and the importance was shown, so the disads were severely weakened.
Are you ready? Yes. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Justice, and all the audience. My name is Eriko Kemoto, and I will begin. So let's start with 82. They say that there is only 675 yen for a month, but however, they are only talking about the average. What we are saying here is that poor people can maximum, they can afford, they can save $30, which means 3,000 yen, which means that there is the average, including people who are wealthy enough to consider about the taste or safety or other factor. So their their evidence is not related to our advantage too. And also they said that 2.1 trillion have to be paid by consumer. But however, they didn't prove that poor people have to pay this. Maybe it can pay by income tax or something else. So it means that this attack doesn't matter. And also, as I said, attack in attack speech, there is no 2.1 trillion yet. So this attack doesn't mean anything. So it means that 82 is still remain completely. Which they the people who can even afford 300 yen for a day can afford more 100 yen for a day. Maybe that can save poor people from starving. So let's go back to 81. So they say that there's many burden, but however, there may be many burden, but in long negotiation we can overcome those burden. However, what we are saying in this presentation was second evidence is that so I'll quote it. It is always right which remains as the problem. So it means that this is more like a main problem. This is not more like not a main problem, but more like a last problem. So right sides cannot be so they agreed by the negotiation. So please confirm. And also about attack about importers, they say that it is risky to export, however, they didn't show any evidence. And also, even if this happens, please look at importers one. Even if this happens, the government is including the situation, and they say that 1.1% for concluding with China, only with China, then 1.1%, which means 5 trillion yen. 5 trillion a year will be GDP will improve. And so they didn't talk about this before importers one evidence. So please confirm this. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn the next. Are you ready? Yes. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Akane Nakamura. I'd like to make a defense speech. First, our disadvantage one is the damage of rice farming. First, they said that citizens will not buy foreign rice. However, it is not true. People will buy foreign rice because, as we said, 80% of people choose rice by the price. And moreover, according to Japan Policy and Finance Corporation in 2012, if foreign rice becomes cheaper, about 66% of people said they will buy foreign rice. So at least these people will buy foreign rice. And actually, in the past, when CU sold the Chinese rice, it was sold very well. So they did ensure that demand will decrease. And next, they talked about that damage to farmers. However, first of all, the process to have the economic damage perfectly remains. So please make sure this point, and we focus on this point mainly. And they said that 83% of farmers can want to continue farming. However, they just want. However, our evidence showed that they will force to quit rice farming. As we said, 73% of farmers will have to quit rice farming even if they can get subsidies. Please make sure. And third, they said that farmers can export rice. However, before they can export rice, they will have to quit rice farming. So their plan just breaks the farmers' lives, and that Japan will lose 1.1 trillion yen. Worth industry. And next, our disadvantage to the loss of function of rice fields. And they say that forest or other lands have that same function. However, their evidence says that actually government need to pay money to build other new dams or such infrastructure. So they admit and they support. Their evidence support our point. And actually, according to our evidence, that the forest or if the farmland will be forest or such things, that the risk will be much higher. And moreover, look at this graph from the Ministry of Agriculture. The green line shows the amount of rice fields has been decreasing. Then the blue graph shows the number of plots. So Ministry of Agriculture say there is a strong relationship. The Ministry of Agriculture proved. So it is a very important point. And after all, government will have to pay 2.1 trillion every year to cover these functions. For these reasons, we should not carry out their plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
After the defense speech, as a judge, you should check whether an issue has all three subpoints: present situation, effect, and importance. If you are convinced that even one of the subpoints are totally gone at this stage, it means that the issue is already zero after the defense. No matter what the summary says, it's too late from now on. So, at least, to some extent, the three subpoints must be recovered during the defense speech. In this round, both of the defense speakers really were successful enough to defend all the three subpoints of both of their issues. At least to some extent, Advantage 1 probability clarified that rice is the key, and the significance was very clearly explained. Advantage 2 had great comparison of two conflicting pieces of evidence. Length is still tight. Disadvantage 1 at least shows some probability of farmers' decline. Disadvantage 2 also shows some risk of disaster. So, all the issues survive to the final stage. So you can't determine the winner yet. But the defendant side tentatively seems to be slightly leading the race, considering the tightness of both issues. Of course, it's too early to make a call. Before watching the final part of this great debate, I want to mention here one more thing that the judge has to care about. That's picking the best debater. The HEnDA format requires each judge to pick one debater that contributed most to the final outcome of the debate. This means that eloquence or English pronunciation is not the determining factor to pick best debaters. Summary speakers are a frequent choice, especially if the debates are close. Attack speakers are also frequently picked. Great attacks can give decisive blows. But in this round, if I were to pick the best debater, I would pick the affirmative defense speaker, who made really an ideal contribution by not just refuting to attacks, but convincing the judges that the advantages are significant. Most of the defense speakers just refute, but that's just half the job. The real job is to show that the advantage or disadvantage is strong or beat the attacks. I may not have to add that this affirmative defense speaker was good also during the questions to the negative attack. So always, please at least slightly care that you have to pick the best debater. Too many summary speakers are picked. If you picked only at the end and don't think about just picking best debaters during the round. So, are you ready for the grand finale?
Yes, please say your name and start. Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges and audience. My name is Niti Yamada, and I would like to begin. First of all, I would like to compare 81 and the DH because they were all about national economy. Their importance was about national economy. First of all, please look at 81. We defended that rice is the main problem. It's a major problem that can't be solved in negotiations right now. So it's the only problem that can't be solved in negotiations right now. After the plan, because this will be removed, there will be no obstacles that can't be removed with negotiations. So we can conclude FTAs with many countries. So please think of this. And though they said that they weren't sure about the benefits, we proved that just concluding one FTA will increase Japan's economy by 5 trillion yen. This is bigger than, even if the DAs happen, this is bigger than the economy loss they are talking about. So this is very important. And furthermore, there's no attack on that. Japan is being left behind right now, and if this present situation continues, Japan's economy will be damaged, and employment and competitiveness will be lost. So this is very important to do this right now. Please confirm this. Now, let's please look at the negative side. First of all, there was a talk about whether consumers will buy foreign rice, and they showed me their evidence about 66% buying foreign rice, but this was they only said that if the price is the same as domestic price, if the domestic rice and foreign rice are the same, 66% will want to buy domestic rice. So, as we said, foreign rice will be 1/5 of Japan's rice. So this, so 80% of people say that they have strong resistance against buying foreign rice. So our evidence is much more stronger. And as we proved, 70% of farmers continue farming even if they're in the red right now. And they didn't prove that they will be forced to quit. They just, in their cross-examination, they said that because of lack of profits, they will quit. But as we proved, 83% of all farmers will continue. So farmers will not quit and rice paddies will not decrease. So there is no economic loss for DA1 and DA2. No, and finally, even if that is not a vote issue, please look at 82. As we proved, there is no attack that consumers can save up to a maximum of 3,000 yen per month. And what will happen with this, because of this? Right now, 1,700 people are starving to death because of too high food prices. Even though 80% of people won't buy foreign rice, these poor people who are in dire need are able to buy this foreign rice, and so their lives will be saved because they will get 100 yen per day after the plan, and this will just drastically increase the amount of food that they can eat, which is the biggest problem right now. So, in order to save these poor people's lives and for economic benefit, please vote for the affirmative side. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Judges, my name is Asa, and I'd like to summarize this debate. First, I tell the weak points over the advantages. First, the advantage one is about concluding FTA, but it's 2 weak points. So first, they say that we can conclude FTA smoothly, but actually, we have other 9 kinds of barrier except for tariff. This is fact. And they say that the tariff on rice always remains binary, but they did not deny that there is 9 kinds of barrier except for rice, please make sure this point. And so even if we can remove only the tariff on rice, the typical situation will never change. They did not prove that we can remove all of these problems, and so this process will never stand, please make sure this point. So, and they said that this talked about exports, but they did not show the evidence that how much money we can get after the plan from exporting, so their impact is very small, so their advantage one will not stand. And next, their advantage two is about saving per people by 3 points. So first, they say that citizens per people can save cost for rice, but even after the plan, each family can save only 625 yen for 1 month, so citizens' lives will change. And so their calculation is based on the price of California rice, but so it means that when citizens buy California rice, their issue happens, but they did not show evidence that how many people will buy California rice, so they didn't prove at all. And they say that this plan is needed to save per people, that if we don't have this plan, then what will happen? They talked about 1,700 people, but they are not because of the lack of rice. So after all, their ADT has no impact and no necessity and no uniqueness, so their advantage 1 and 2 is quite small. So now I'd like to explain the reason why this plan is not needed for Japan. So first, their DA1 is about damage of rice farming. So they say that citizens will not buy foreign rice, but however, actually, if foreign rice becomes cheaper, about 66% people say that they will buy foreign rice, so our process will stand. So actually importance. So rice farming and its associated industries are very important because it is key industry for Japan. So by this plan, 73% of rice farmers will quit rice farming and 50% of rice production will be lost. The market of these industries worth 1.1 trillion yen will be seriously damaged. So our DA1 is very serious. And next, our DA2 is about loss of the function of rice fields, and so I tell the importance. So now rice fields have 4 important functions to keep the environment, but after the plan, these functions will be done and the government has to spend 2.1 trillion every year in order to cover them. And the Ministry of Agriculture support this idea, so our process and impact is sure. So our DA2 is very serious. So finally, I'd like to compare DA1 and 2 and their DA2. So on their DA2, they say that per people can be saved. But on our DA1, the rice industries will be damaged. It means that the workers will be damaged. And on our DA2, as the attackers say that they have to pay the tax for our DA2. So finally, our DA1 and 2 are bigger than their advantages. So of course, we should not care this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not really sure how much time I have for this. Maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, somewhere in between. 3 minutes probably. I really enjoyed this debate, and congratulations to both teams. Unfortunately, only one team can proceed to the final debate, but those teams are great, and you should be proud of your achievements. This is the semifinal, and after the semifinals, we have final debate. And after that, we can all forget the arguments. Right? So instead of talking about specifics about this particular debate or regarding this particular topic, we'd like to talk a little bit about some of the basics of debate, arguments, and strategies. Now, the first thing, when you are making disadvantage arguments or even advantageous arguments, you are allowed to make two big arguments, right? Two advantages and two disadvantages. We'd like to suggest that those disadvantages or advantages can be independent of each other. In other words, in this particular debate, two disadvantages negative presented are depending upon one single point. If the rice farmers would quit farming, if the resolution is adopted, right? If the negative wins that part of the argument, probably they can win the link to the first disadvantages or first disadvantage and the second disadvantage. But if they lose that big arguments, they will lose both disadvantages. So my suggestion to you is when you are making advantages or disadvantages of two big arguments for the resolution, make sure that those two big arguments are independent of each other. They should have different kind of effects and impacts, right? So that you can maximize your strategic benefits. That's the first thing. This applies to any kind of policy resolution. So next time, I don't know which kind of topic you're debating, but probably you should make sure that when you're making disadvantages or advantages, make sure that those are independent. Second, time frame. Time frame, right? Now, if the resolution is adopted, then something will happen and something will follow that, right? We are talking about effects of policy change in time sequence. So for example, today, resolution may be adopted, and tomorrow something will happen, and probably sometime later, something will occur, right? You need to think about the policy change in time sequence. So for example, time frame. Here's one question. Now, if the affirmative is right, probably rice may be the final obstacle for concluding FDA, right? Probably FDA may be concluded sometime if the resolution is adopted. But what about other non-tariff barriers they are talking about? When are those non-tariff barrier arguments will be resolved or negotiated out, right? Who never knows? So maybe affirmative is right. Rice may be the one important obstacle for concluding FDA, but we are not really sure when other non-tariff barriers will be negotiated out or resolved. So we are talking about not only one-time policy change causing something. We're talking about the sequence of something going or taking place in series, right? So you need to think about effects in time sequence. Probably this applies to other kind of topic when you're talking about any kind of policy change. Effective policy change will take place in time sequence. I'm running out of time. Summaries are great. Right. Professor Ogisu told us that summary speaker on the affirmative was great, and probably you need to model after her excellent summary speeches. But that's all for my comments. I need to announce an important thing. We have 5 judges, and 4 out of 1 voted for the affirmative team, Kobe College High School. Congratulations.
As the chief judge of this round, Professor Aonuma said, 4 out of 5 judges voted for the affirmative. I'm really sorry that the time was so limited for Professor Aonuma's comments. The semifinal round started really late. He didn't have time to explain why the majority of the judges voted for the affirmative, so I will try to explain it instead. So I must admit that I don't know what each judge decided then. If I was in the judge panel, I would have voted for the affirmative too. But I can also say that the round was very close enough so that it is understandable that some judge may weigh the issues in favor or the negative. As I said after the defense speech, all 4 issues survive into the summary. That means all 4 issues somehow must be taken into account by the judges. It was a very close round. In the majority decision, I suppose that the causal effect of the disadvantaged one was doubted and quite damaged till the end. Negative side cannot clearly overcome the affirmative evidence showing that 80% of the nation will be resistant in buying foreign rice, and also whether the part-time farmers will quit farming, and that was not challenged. The negative clearly has the burden to show that their scenario is more credible. They failed to swing the balance, so the impact is hardly 1.1 trillion yen now. It's much smaller. That means disadvantage 2 was also severely degraded. Affirmative successfully mentioned that if the disadvantage 1 is small, then disadvantage 2 is also small. Affirmative also attacked that farming will not be abandoned and the woods or marshes can be the same effect to rice paddies, which wasn't refuted by the negative with some evidence. So in total, disadvantage 1 and disadvantage 2 isn't 0, but weak, both fact-wise and value-wise. Compared to that, the advantage 1 was a little better. As the negative attacked, the initial link is the weakest part. There are other obstacles for the trade negotiation. But the affirmative defense did some great explanation that rice is the key issue. If the negative did some more specific concrete explanations about the other obstacles, the advantage 1 may have been gone. But the probability of successful FTA seems to be not 0, and the affirmative did a good job explaining that once an FTA is closed, it has trillion and class impact. Advantage 2 was the tightest issue. The impact was limited, as it deals just about the poor. But considering the vivid illustration of the importance, this advantage 2 is hardly negligible. Thus in total, advantage 1 alone may be enough to outweigh the disadvantages. Even if the judge doesn't think there's high probability in advantage 1 FTA, the advantage 1 and disadvantage 1 and 2 are kind of tied in terms of low probability inflated impacts. Thus, advantage 2 can still function as some definite tiebreaker favoring the affirmative side. Thus, advantage 1 plus advantage 2 outweighs disadvantage 1 plus disadvantage 2, QED. This is the thinking process of a debate judge. The tip is, after each speech, do the tentative assessment of each issue and reassess it on the way. This will not only make decisions more precise, it will make the decisions much quicker. 以上、長野県で開かれた第8回全国大会から2試合をご覧いただきました。長野県は日本の高校英語ディベートの草分け的な存在で、実に20年以上前から 広い長野県を巻き込んだ英語ディベート活動を行い、全国の模範となるとともに、その後全国大会につながるような多くのフレンドシップを育んできました。高校ディベート発祥の地で行われた全国大会は大成功のうちに終了しました。そこに集った高校生や先生方の間には、さらにメイクフレンズの輪が広がっていました。高校英語ディベートは単に言葉を使った学習活動にとどまりません。世界に通用する人材を育み、そして友情を育む活動です。全国の先生方のご尽力で、都道府県で大会を行っているのはすでに35にも上ります。この活動がさらに日本の各地に普及していくことを願ってやみません。2014年の全国大会は12月に静岡県浜松市で開催されます。ぜひ皆様とそこでお会いできたらと思います。See you then!
長野県東部に位置する人口およそ16万人の上田市。2005年には文部科学省よりスーパーイングリッシュランゲージハイスクールに指定されるなど、国際理解、外国語表現の育成に力を入れている高校が長野県上田染谷丘高等学校です。その教壇に立つのが小山文夫先生。2013年春に高校の教諭を退職された小山先生は、現在上田高等学校や上田染谷丘高等学校などで臨時の英語教師を務めています。実は小山先生こそが日本の高校生英語ディベート大会のきっかけを作った先生なのです。
体育系だと試合がありますよね。ところが文化系のクラブで英語クラブはスピーチコンテストならあり得るけれども、ほとんど交流らしいものがなかったので、そういう文化系のクラブのそういう組織を作るときにディベートをやってみませんかと呼びかけたんですよ。
1993年、小山先生の発案で全国で初めて開催された長野県の高校生による英語ディベート大会には4校から10チームが参加しました。その時の論題は、長野県に新幹線は必要であるかと、長野県は学校の制服を廃止すべしの2つの論題でした。日本で初めて行われた高校生による英語ディベートの結果はどうだったのでしょう。
あんまりディベートになってないんですよ。要するに肯定立論、否定立論、その後もう準備してきた反駁を読み合ってるだけで噛み合ってないんです。そして英語力も非常に低かったです。ところが回を重ねるに従って論理力、英語力がぐーっと伸びていったんです。
回を重ねるごとに英語ディベート大会は大きくなり、長野県内に広く普及していきました。そしてついには全国へと英語ディベートの輪は広がっていったのです。小山先生の英語ディベートに対するその思いは、
僕の高校時代なんてまず考えられないですからね。みんなの前で堂々と英語を喋ってるという。ですから頼もしいというか、もう素晴らしいなと、もっともっと伸びると思いますよ。はい、それこそね、I have a dream なんですよ。日本で世界中の人が集まってディベートが来る日、ディベートができる日を夢見ていますとそういう夢を抱きましたよね。
2013年12月14日、英語ディベート発祥の地長野県で新たな歴史が刻まれました。松本市にある松本大学に全国から選び抜かれた高校生たちが自信と誇りを胸に集まってきました。総勢64校、約350名。2 日間にわたり第8回全国高校生英語ディベート大会が開催されたのです。全国高校生英語ディベート大会とは、文部科学省が後援し、全国高校英語ディベート連盟が主催、 GTEC for Students が特別協賛する大会で、コミュニケーション能力と多角的な視点、論理的思考力の育成を目的とした英語でのディベート競技です。
長野が21回、全国最古のディベートの歴史を誇っていると。でその中で岐阜で全国大会が始まってきた。長野が一番歴史があるのに、その長野が開催県として手を挙げなかったりやらないということについて負い目があったもんですから、ある意味では責任が果たせたという感じであります。だから何が良かったというよりは、ひとまず長野県としての責務を全うできたかなというふうに思っています。最初に手間がかかるし、自分自身も勉強しなきゃいけないので、ディベートに対して物おじというか、彦島になっている人が多いかと思います。で私が今やっていることもそうなんですが、やはり一つ一つ手順を踏むっていうことと、同時に長時間を得ると。で勝ち負けにこだわるわけじゃないんですが、やはり勝つということの喜びはその後の意欲にとっても大切なので、やはり勝てるような方策、あるいは道をしるべを一歩一歩示していくということが大事じゃないかと思います。それさえできれば、ほっといても自分たちでできるような段階が来るんじゃないでしょうかね。
ディベートとは、事前に与えられた論題に対して肯定側と否定側に分かれ議論を展開し、示されたお互いの論点を確認し合いながら、どちらがより強い議論を展開できたかをおよそ40分で競う競技です。肯定側に回るか否定側に回るかは試合ごとに変わります。どちら側に回っても対応できるように準備をしておかなければなりません。まずは立論。自分たちのチームの主張を発表します。次に質疑応答。相手側の立論に質問し、論点を明らかにします。そしてアタック。相手側の立論の問題点を指摘します。さらにディフェンス。相手側からのアタックに反論を行います。最後に試合を振り返ってサマリーを述べます。ディベートの評価のポイントは議論の中身です。相手の主張と比較しながら自らの立論をいかにアピールできるかが大きなポイントなのです。リーディング、リスニング、スピーキング、ライティングの4技能すべてをフル稼働させ試合に臨みます。英語ディベートとは、チームの作戦と連携プレーが重要な鍵を握る究極の頭脳スポーツなのです。競技の合間には、競った者同士だからこそ分かち合える心の交流、メイクフレンズ。学生時代の忘れられない思い出の一つとして、生徒たちの胸にしっかりと刻み込まれます。2日間にわたる熱い戦いが終了しました。第8回大会の優勝校は神戸女学院高等学校。準優勝は長野県伊那北高等学校が受賞しました。優勝した神戸女学院高等学校には文部科学大臣賞、アメリカ合衆国大使館賞が贈られました。また大会後の3月にはスロベニアで行われた世界大会に出場しました。
すごく長い間昼夜問わずずっと準備してきたので、これが報われて本当に良かったなって思って、優勝できて本当に嬉しいです。ディベートって本当に楽しいなって、ここに来て壇上に立ってスピーチできて、それだけでもう誇りです。ありがとうございました。
ディベートをやってる中で本当にたくさんの人に支えてもらって、 家族だったり学校の友達だったり、あと練習試合をしてくださったすべての方とか、この本番で当たったすべての学校の方たちに支えられてここまで来れたと思うので、本当にディベートをしてて人みんなに支えられているってことを実感することがすごく多くて、すごい本当に感謝でいっぱいです。ありがとうございました。
はい、大学に行ってもできれば私続けていきたいと思います。はい、
チームワークだと思います。本当に準備の時からずっと戦略をどうしようとか、もう夜3時ぐらいまでみんなでオンラインで話し合ったりとかしてて、そのチームワークのおかげで本当にここまで来れたと思ってます。私だけだったら絶対こんなの無理だったし、本当にもう私以外のみんながすごい努力してくれたんで、ここに立てたことを本当に誇りに思います。
2つあるんですが、1つは、生徒さんたちの討論の中身といいますか、ディベートの中身ですが、これがこの当初の大会に比べますとですね、だんだん中身が絡み合ってくるようになりました。そういう意味ではちゃんとした論と論を戦わせると、あるいは相手の考えを聞き出す、自分の意見を言うということがうまくできるようになってきたと思います。もう一つは運営のサイドの話ですが、こんな言い方をしてはちょっといけませんけれども、クレームといいますか、これはおかしいんじゃないかというような声が本当に大会を始めた頃はありましたが、最近全くなくなりまして、これは我々としても大会の品質がですね非常に向上してきたという意味において大変嬉しいところだというふうに考えております。そういう意味で今後もですねますます内容の充実と運営の充実を目指していきたいなというふうに考えております。ありがとうございました。
今回の第8回大会は今までよりもさらに生徒さんの力がパワーアップしている感じでですね、とても嬉しく思います。そして各チーム試合ごとにディベートのスキル、そして英語力が上がっているというふうに感じています。このように大会としてのディベートに生徒さんを参加させることもとても有意義なことなんですけども、それの前提となる授業でのディベート、あるいはディベート的な活動、これを皆さんに採用していただきたいというふうに思っています。4技能を統合する力として考えるという力があります。この考える力を養成するのにディベートは最適だというふうに思います。英文を読んで分かりましたかという授業で終わるのではなく、読んだものに対して質問を考える、あるいは反論を書くといったような活動を入れると、生徒さんのモチベーションも上がりますし、能動的な学習につながる、そして最終的には使える英語力が身につくというふうに思いますので、ぜひディベート活動を授業に活用して採用していただきたいというふうに思います。よろしくお願いします。
第8回の大会無事に終了しました。で、前年にも増しての熱戦だったと多分言っていいかと思います。実は大会の時点では64校に絞るわけですけれど、64校に絞るっていうのはルールが決まっていて、県予選等の学校数の多いところから絞る、でそういうルールにしたんですけども、今回は県予選の数もたくさん増えてですね、島根とか群馬とか岩手とかそういうところで新しい県予選があったこともあって、もう本当に多くの強豪校が県の予選の段階で全国に進めず涙を飲むっていう事態まで起きていた。結果として全国大会ではもうえりすぐりの学校が出ている感じでした。で今回の論題は非常にタイムリーなものに実はなって、米の関税の問題でちょうど TPP の交渉っていうのは政府もやっていて、年末までに妥結するって、あれ関税の話とか妥結されちゃったら困るなっていう危機感も多少あったんですけれど、実際には生徒さんはそういうタイムリーな議論なんかもディベートの中に取り込んでくれたおかげもあって、こちらとしても聞き応えがある、非常に事実っていう意味では多くのデータがたくさん出ている大会だったのが印象的でした。多少ですね、ポイントとしては もうかなりディベートの能力が高くなっていて、証拠資料等に関しての、取り扱いっていうのがこんなに成熟したのかって驚くばかりですけど、それを英語でこなしている。で単純に言うと、事前に物事を考えて証拠資料を集めて、それを生徒さんが自主的にやっているわけですね。で非常に驚いたことに、今回の決勝では2つの学校が対戦して、2つとも実は伊那北高校も神戸女学院という対戦校も顧問の力ではなくて、生徒さんたちがほぼ自主的にクラブ活動等で行っている。で顧問が教えてやるっていうよりも自主的に調べて、とてつもない量の勉強量だったと思うんですが、自分たちで議論を作って見事に使いこなしてるっていうのは非常に感銘を受けました。やっぱり英語ディベート活動っていうのの一番の利点は何かというと、自主的に勉強する。でそれを英語という、外国を使ってコミュニケーションする。でやっぱり自発的に実用的なコミュニケーションを取るやり方を学ぶっていう最大のそれが売りになってるんじゃないかと思うし、それが象徴的なのが決勝戦でした。非常にですね、見応えのある大会になったと、自負ですけれどしております。
第9回全国高校生英語ディベート大会参加校募集。